Good evening, everyone. I'm pretty aware that it's probably wouldn't be a much of a turnout tonight anyway, because I do know a couple other channels have a lot going on. So, first and foremost, the past couple of days have been extremely exhausting, very much buried in extremely hard work, but also very emotional work. So I do believe that I am very, very close on a different case that I'm not going to say which case it is at this time, because I am going to go and do some physical searches on the ground. And I don't have a good feeling that it's going to be a good outcome. But I'm fairly confident that I have honed in on a possible great location on that case. On the Sebastian Rogers case, which is the one that everybody seems to find the most interesting, I will pose some questions here for anybody who possibly watches this later. And I am going to type my email in right now, so that if anyone has photos, video, even if it's like a screenshot of something that is in response to one of my questions, or you think it is valuable, so that you can please email it to me. The email is stopthemadnessinfo@gmail.com. Oh, thank you, Audrey. Welcome. And I'm so glad you're here tuning in tonight. I'm not going to keep everybody late tonight. Like I said, I know there's a lot of stuff going on other channels, but what I found in the past 2 days was when I shut out the noise and I bury myself in the case, I seem to have the most clarity. So because I am on this really amazing track, and I believe headed in the right direction, that's where I'm going to keep my focus. So if I can't do a video because I'm doing that, unfortunately, that's most important, because in the end, finding them is the most important. So I still did not get answers to questions that I posed in, it would not have been last night. It was the night before. So if today is Wednesday, so that would have been Monday night's live. That went, I think, pretty late. Hi, Envy. So I did not get answers to my questions the other night, but since we do have a couple new people here, maybe you will have some answers. So if you have any answers, you're always welcome to put them in chat. If for any reason you feel uncomfortable sharing them publicly from, for whatever reason, my email address is there. You can email it to me. So it's teamwork here. So the first thing is, I'll repeat a question I've had in a couple of videos, and that is about the bedding in Sebastian's bedroom. I was hoping that Seth or a family member or somebody that's close to Seth would have been able to get me this information. That has not happened. Unfortunately, I am trying to find out, prior to the day that Sebastian went missing, what kind of bedspread he had, what the colors were. Yes, I do. Yeah, that's what I meant when you came on a little after where I said, I know there's a lot going on other channels right now. So I did not expect a big turnout here tonight because, you're live, you're on site, and that sort of thing. So if you don't know, there is another creator, Terry Lynn, who's more local. She is the person who did the secret phone recording of Chris Proudfoot that we have yet to dissect together, but I have gone through it. And I've shared the links 3 times. And anyways, she was on a ground search and she located a pair of black pants with white stripes down the sides. And so she called law enforcement to come collect them. And there was a little bit of drama there, but in the end, I believe they took the pants. If I'm wrong, correct me. I don't want to put any wrong information out there. I thought she said a female officer went in and actually collected them. So I can't comment a whole lot more because there's things that I've been working on. So I'm not going to comment on the pants, and I'm not going to comment on, I just, anyways. So the bedding. So I am curious as to what the bedding was. Bedspread, pillows, all that jazz. In Sebastian's room prior to the day that he went missing. I would like to know if when Seth went to the house on the day Sebastian went missing, if he observed his bedroom and can recall what the bedspread was. Additionally, there is another item that I am unsure if it is accounted for. And I don't want to say it out loud on here. Because it could be a very, very big clue. And so I don't know if I'll get a way to verify whether or not this item was observed, located, collected. And I don't know, if Seth was ever, I highly doubt based on the relationship with law enforcement, if Seth was able to view any photos that they might have taken of the home while they were there, because I pray they did on the first day. I really do. So this other item, I'm extremely nervous to publicly ask about it. And if I do ask about it, I would not want the answer made public, put it that way. And I don't know if anybody other than Chris or Katie would know the answer, which would be just unfortunate because I doubt law enforcement is going to call me and, so let me just preface this by saying I will take what I'm calling my case files, which are very large, and I am condensing them into something that makes sense and is manageable and easy to process. And I will submit all of that to TBI in Sumner County. I am not going to hold anything back. That's the right thing to do. So when it's complete, which I hope it will be in the next couple days, unless I get something that just keeps me, where I want a perfect package, I will submit it all to law enforcement. I had sent a link to the one private investigator, Heather. I could not locate an email address for Chloe. With just some thoughts and suggestions, but that was before I took this, not a deep dive, because we know I've been deep diving, but this was more really going over 2 months of information and trying to put it in one place and really like fine tune it along with some other things that I, again, can't really get into. So the betting questions out there. There is something though that I am going to do with regards to locations and mapping. And so if I do have a subscriber or a listener that is actually in the vicinity, drivable, that maybe has been to where I'm staying or could potentially fill in some gaps on the description to tell me if this makes sense to them, send me an email so I have your email so we can communicate. And I would prefer that our communications just stay between us, but I will share the mapping images with you to get your insight. Let's see. The other thing I want to put out there is, again, a reminder that if for some reason you are local or, anywhere basically between Memphis and Hendersonville, or even Gallatin at this point, or White House, if your camera, video, business, security equipment does go back as far as February 25th, and you have like it backed up to a server, go back and look methodically again. If you see something, save it, download it, turn it in. I can't say loud enough, we definitely have missing surveillance footage in this case. Some people don't know, and so they never looked. Some people, maybe by the point they were contacted, it's gone. And there's people who just genuinely, they don't want to get in the middle of nothing. And they won't say anything. But I'm just putting the plea out there to please get it out there. Turn it in. And I keep saying not just one. Get it to more than one. Get it to TBI and law enforcement. If you're going to send something to the PIs, send it to the PIs, TBI, and law enforcement. So that way, all parties are involved with it. And you can always, and I recommend always saying, like, if you feel super strong, it's not a like, yeah, it could be, because we got a lot of, yeah, it could be is going on out there. Ask them to keep it confidential. If it's a big nugget, you do not want the internet running with it. You do not want the parties involved knowing what is going on. Things happen when people know what's going on. If people know you are in the right location and you're just not there yet, guess what happens? People go and they move things, evidence, remains, things like that. It really happens. So you have to be cognizant that you can't put certain things out there, because if you so much as put somebody on the scent, like they're like the item I am not bringing up. If I say that, because I'm not yet to date brought up this item, so far on no channels or social media have I saw this item brought up. I believe I could create some panic from the parties involved. And I don't want damage control. I don't want anything getting destroyed, moved, nothing. Because If you, let's say you found a pond and you searched a pond hypothetically, and you came up empty, but you're like, hey, we're going to go back there tomorrow. If everybody in the world knows that you are at that pond and you're coming back the next day, and that pond is where evidence or a person is, somebody could be coming out there in the middle of the night and doing something. It's for real. You are talking about life or death. Somebody's life in prison for the rest of their life, their entire life getting ruined, or they continue down the path of lying and hiding things and hope that at some point, a year from now, 2 years from now, they could be somewhere else living a fresh start. So I can't warn enough that you have to be really, really careful. Let me say this. If any of you watch The Deception Detective, I would venture to guess that he probably gets a lot of requests from people. And I have been a follower, a member, all of these things for a very long time. And as you know, he just recently did his second or third reading on this, of the statement analysis. And but anyways, not in those videos, but in something else, I found something that I personally believed was of the utmost importance if it is true. So what did I do? I reached out. I said, this has got to be totally confidential. Here's this. If you get a chance, listen to this section. I'd love to know what you think. No, I haven't heard anything. I'm not that cool. But, and if I had heard something back, I assure you, I would not. If it was false, okay, maybe I'd say something. But if it was true, I would not say nothing. Nothing. So, anyways, haven't heard because I'm not cool enough. So, I digress, as always. A little something, though, that I would throw out there for law enforcement, the private investigators, is to, really get out of your head, have faith, and trust yourself. And, they say like women have women's intuition. Unfortunately, not as many men do, or if they do, they don't talk about it. I don't know. I'm not a man, but sometimes you have to have faith in yourself, and you have to really believe in your instincts. And so I encourage that, because it's when you overthink or second guess yourself that you end up going on a wild goose chase. And Occam's razor. So, let me see. Let me get to my questions. Oh, so for anybody who's here who has not seen any videos, two questions I had. Number one, if anybody has a picture, because I could have it buried somewhere from a really long time ago, but I haven't found it. If anybody has a picture of Sebastian, we don't know. It's alleged. Okay. If anybody has any pictures of the glasses that were found by the search team that were deemed not to belong to Sebastian, can you email me that picture? I don't know if they took pictures. I don't really remember. I thought they did, but I could be wrong. But I would think if you're a volunteer, you would have took a picture before, law enforcement had arrived to collect it and bag it. So if I can see a picture, I'm not going to put it, I promise you, I am not going to put it on this channel. I am not going to share it publicly. I have to see the picture of the glasses that were found. So again, the email is stopthemadnessinfo@gmail.com. Yes, Audrey, I love him. I feel like so smart every time. I feel like I get smarter. Which is what I love, because I do love learning. Let's see. I brought this up again. I'm probably not going to get the answer. And I said it before. I don't think it should be a public answer, but I am trying to find out if Katie had any history of mental illness. And now I have a second question. And I don't have a choice on this, but to say it publicly, as much as it makes me sick as a woman to say the question publicly, I don't have anybody's phone numbers or email addresses to ask the question. So I preface this because if it's true, my heart breaks for any woman who has ever been in a situation where it happened to them. And I don't mean any offense at all. And I don't mean I want a public response or anything. So I'm getting that out of the way right now because it makes me kind of sick to have to say this out loud, but I'm hoping to reach somebody who has an answer. I would like to know if Katie has ever lost a child. Miscarriage, stillborn, or shortly after maybe they were born. I threw it out there. I'm not bringing it up again. Absolutely, Audrey. I think the older I get, the more I learn. Like, I am addicted to learning new things. And we live in a world where everything is always getting more advanced. It's changing. And sometimes you do have to rely on good old-fashioned detective work, good old-fashioned woman's intuition. Sometimes you have to rely on pen and paper and some of our old-fashioned tools. But I also believe it is extremely important to always be learning. It's how we grow, it's how we evolve, it's how we better understand things, and it's how we better understand people, because there's constantly a new flow of generations, and their lives are so different. I mean, my children are living a life far from the one I lived, and I'm sure that was the same for my mother and her mother. And as we grow, I think, if you absorb the right knowledge and you always remain open to learning, you can instill that in others and help them grow too. Gut feelings, people ignore them way too much, in my opinion. Whew. Let's see. I don't know. I'll email him, tag him something. But I know that T-Rev has Nancy Drew, and anybody who watches his channel knows exactly who I'm talking about. If you don't, Nancy Drew is the eyes and ears of the RV park area. Let's put it that way. I would just say, if this, if I will tag him, and if he sees this, Nancy Drew needs to be laser focused, not just for a day. Okay, the other question I had, flashlight video. My question is, Does anyone recall the correct time? If I understood correctly, Seth said when he watched the video, the timestamp was frozen and didn't move. So my question is, I'm trying to recall what was the time of the flashlight video? I need to attach that to another piece in my puzzle. So knowing that time is extremely important to me. And so I'm hoping one of you guys has that note or that memory of that. Okay. Yeah. I will say this much. No, I absolutely do not believe that Sebastian is in the landfill. Um, we don't know what the last search yielded because we weren't privy to that and we shouldn't be. But I believe it needs to be searched again. And I also believe, well, maybe someone can recall this. When was the last time the house was searched? That would be helpful because I think something is being overlooked of evidentiary value. But if it's not been too long since the last search, maybe they, did, find it because they've been there like 10, 12 times. So my plan with this is, of course, I plan to jump on in the, um, over the next few days, and we can dissect some things from the phone call, go over some other things that I feel comfortable kind of talking about, because sometimes you guys, you really share like just some of the best information, and it's amazing to me that, I can see a consensus in chats, in comments. I'm not the only one that is this close. And I think I'm this close because I took the time to just say, I gotta have a brain break. I gotta just put it all in front of me. And I'm still not done. And it's so exhausting. And then at the same time, I keep getting pulled to this side because, I think I'm definitive on a location. And so I am trying to work on maybe, volunteers that can come with, and ground penetrating radar, and vests and flashlights and things like that, and boots, and figuring that all out and picking a date as, sooner rather than later, always. Because, but as I said, when I say ground penetrating radar, that would not be a happy ending. So, in both of these cases, as I get further and I get closer to putting it all together, it's heavy. It's heavy. And we were already in a heavy place after listening to the calls and the web sleuth interview. It's so draining. It's so exhausting, especially if you're very empathic, or, just what I like to call it a feeler, like just somebody who feels all their emotions in a strong way. Like when I'm happy, I'm like over the top, annoyingly happy. Um, you know, and when I'm feeling maybe sometimes what somebody else is feeling, that I care about or something like that, it really affects me, to carry like that with me sometimes. And of course, it always is worse when you feel helpless and you can't do anything about it. So what I'm trying to do is do something about it. And I don't have a way to be um, physically in person for Sebastian's case. So the best I can do is just give everything I have and say, here you go, and hope that it's considered and taken seriously. I don't know what else I can do in this other particular situation. It's more within reason that I can physically just take care of this and go look and do this myself. I think you're right. I mean, researching, the same areas again, is not a bad idea. I mean, you'd be so surprised what you can overlook, especially if the person isn't wearing the clothes they were reported missing in, or are concealed in some way. I a lot of me just thinks that, well, I hate being like negative or saying things, but it's like, um, I don't know. Maybe I won't say it because, it's sad. So I'm very hopeful that Q is going to be getting involved. They have a lot more resources that they can bring, and I hope they come quick because, in my opinion, the longer the guilty people are not, okay, let me correct that. The longer the suspected people are just out there being able to just live normal lives, and they're not they're not under arrest, they can come, go, and do whatever they want. They could literally pick up and move to Venezuela tomorrow, and nobody can stop them. Nobody's charged with anything. So time is of the essence. When you get, when you get to a place where, you can only, lock yourself up and hide for so long before you're going to lose your mind. You're either going to crack or you're going to be like, bye. I mean, time is of the essence. But, if you don't have enough, they can't pull the trigger on that. You know, um, so I'm hoping we get to a place where there is something um, hardcore, the smoking gun, so to speak. I do have a lot of other things, but I can't discuss them yet. So if anybody does have answers to the questions that I brought up earlier, please share those with me, either in chat or by email. And then regarding the Tamantas Hurt case, there was a live stream with Casey Discovered tonight at 5 o'clock, and due to technical difficulties, it kept glitching and then it disconnected, and they sent me a message that it has been rescheduled for tomorrow. They are going to give it I've heard that a lot, Audrey. And I do believe that the thump was something that she was not lying about. I do not believe that the 3-hour phone call involved was what started any events. yeah. Um, the little bit I will say is that I believe the 3-hour phone call, there's there's part of it that was a lot of panic, in my opinion. But I think there's other stuff related to the 3-hour phone call um, that I'm not gonna comment on yet. But yeah, that they no, I think that's the thing. It's I was where you were, and then I had that quiet. So that's the only reason I was able to like dissect this a little further. And then, and if you've never been to my channel before, um, I try to be really careful about jumping on anything that I have not been able to vet. So if you see, like, if you were to look at, let's say, what I would in the end send to law enforcement, um, it has, the who, the what, the when, the where, times, source, was it vetted, was it debunked? Of course, I'm not going to send them anything that was debunked, but that's more for me because if somebody comes to me and says, um, what about this, what about that? And I can come back and say, this was genuinely debunked. And if you don't believe me, that's okay. But as far as my side of the file, I don't want to pay attention to what I call, like it's the noise, it's the extra, which it all is until you work really, really diligently to. The second time I listened to the secret recorded phone call, for example, the first time I was so angry and upset, and um, I've been doing my best to stay off of a lot of the Facebook groups and things like that because they can really taint your mind. But then I listened to the call again where I was in a quiet headspace and I was able to hear what was important. And so I don't get me. No, I love anybody who throws out comments, ideas, or comes back later, watches a video, um, because somebody might make a comment and maybe 70% of it is, something maybe we've talked about a few times before, but then there's this like 30% of a different perspective. And I take notes of everything. I read every single comment. Um, and I maybe don't get to process it the same night, the same day, but then I go back and I do, and I read through them and I really think to myself, like, how does this work? How can this fit in? Can it fit in? Is it a close, and I have scales, like how probable, most likely, least likely. So I'm pretty methodical and analytical about this stuff. Um, so I don't ever want to say I certainly am not 100% on anything ever. Nobody really, I think, can be. But so I never discourage the ideas, and I might, be stuck on one thing for one reason. And if I'm not stuck on it, sometimes I circle back. Like there was some family members that I had disregarded very early on that weren't of interest to me. Um, and now they're of interest to me for other reasons. So, it's something that maybe like a whole month later than everybody else, I circle back and said, okay, um, you know, this is a piece of the pie. Um, because I have a lot of feelings about culpability and a lot of, especially a lot of recent huge national cases. Um, it's kind of like, a drug ring. They want the big guy. And for me, that's not enough. You want everybody else, everybody that was also culpable. Take the big one out, but don't forget to go back and get the little ones. Because to me, for example, the Lori Vallow, Chad Daybell case, which I have been following from the beginning, since they were not even, like, we didn't even know they had passed away. If you follow that case, even half the time, you know there are a lot of culpable people that have no charges. To me, shouldn't even be witnesses, because they're not very valuable, in my opinion, as witnesses even, because they're still self-protecting. So to me, there's so many people that were culpable that are not getting in trouble and not facing justice. And I surely hope they don't go out and start a bunch of little Chad and Lori Daybell like pods of cult craziness, because that's what, to me, like, some of this madness would be stopped if you get them all, everybody that is culpable. There are still culpable people out there, and I don't care what they wrap it up in. I see through it. I believe, and that's the same thing with Ruby Franke, Jody Hildebrandt. They got a cakewalk of a sentence, in my opinion. They should have been charged with attempted murder, in my opinion. And there are other people that are culpable that were not charged. It disgusts me. And I think it's why we keep seeing this cycle continue. You look at the Harmony Montgomery case, they wouldn't have got Dad without the stepmom's testimony. One of the most disgusting things I've ever heard. But her deal was way too sweet, in my opinion. And that is the continued fear I have, is what culpable people do you leave behind? And then what are those people going to believe that they can get away with, that they can continue to do? And, in this particular case, I have my opinion on the people I believe that are guilty. And as far as actions, I believe one is more guilty than the other. But if I guess I don't know Tennessee law. But in some states, the charges are the same regardless. You know, if one was a little more guilty than the other, or took a little more action than the other, one might have a different charge or a different sentence. So I guess I don't know Tennessee law. But there are other parties that I believe are culpable. And to me, it's going to be, we're going to need to know if that can be shown or proven. And I hope to be part of revealing that. And the case, I'm not saying what case it is that I think this is going to be, might be like one of the worst experiences ever, because there's going to be so many culpable people. And because of how the nature of it, I don't even think that I would want to be attached publicly in any way to if I do find anything on the search. Keep my name out of it. Don't because there's dangers to certain things, and a lot of these cases, there's much bigger stuff going on, and you think it's just one little thing and there's bigger stuff going on. And, but I believe the truth is coming. And I do believe there's going to be a big break. If I get some answers and I get some information and I can continue to piece this together, awesome. Otherwise, I will take the final product and just send it the way it is, without those little nuggets of information. But we are going to, in the next few days, go over some of these calls and recent interviews, to kind of share back and forth with what you guys picked up on, what I picked up on, what your interpretation of things are, because like I said, I always say, get a notebook, get a notebook, get a notebook. There's so much to keep track of, which is why I have to try. I will open the Facebook, do a scan, just see if there's some like shocking breaking thing happening. But then I might catch 2 comments and I'm like, goodbye, because it can really eat away at your logical thinking and your ability to put the pieces together when you are just so clouded with all 20,000 people's comments about the one thing, and mixed in with really just gross or rude stuff or humorous stuff on something that's not funny, and what could be a real simple found this. But then it's like just things are just beaten to the ground. And, I don't, I want to wait and let somebody else then vet something. Like the North Carolina photo seems to be taken pretty seriously. So I just wait for like law enforcement will, can confirm, deny, or Seth will confirm, deny, or the PIs will confirm or deny. Now I hope, not I think, we will find out if it is or it isn't with certainty. And maybe that happened while I've been buried in my computer off social media, but I don't think we know that yet. But again, it was one of those things where it's just so all consuming that I'm like, okay, somebody's already working on vetting that. I don't need to like waste all my brain energy on it. So that's kind of where we are with that. Again, and Tamanta's hurt. Again, I'm going to hope to do the live stream tomorrow. I don't know. It depends on what time it is. I might just go back and watch it. And if there's valuable information, I will share that with you. I think I'm going to reach out to the grandma and just see if she wants to do an interview, because I've just got a lot of answers or a lot of questions that I'm not getting answers. And she seems like she is willing to give whatever information she can that would help find her grandson. So we'll see. I'll stick out the olive branch and see where that goes. But in the meantime, I know there's a lot cooking on the YouTube channel tonight. So I'll take advantage of this and actually maybe go to bed before midnight tonight. So I thank everybody for tuning in. Really, truly, any thoughts you have, comment or email them. Again, if you email me something and you say, well, confidentially or whatever, I will respect your privacy. I will not share, post it, nothing. I will keep it for like on my side for like the research purposes. If you think it should be shared, then I will then look at it, and if I feel like it might be something to brainstorm, I will share it. If my judgment is still saying don't show it, don't share it, then I won't, but I would still communicate with you about it, what you sent, and kind of brainstorm that. And so if you like anything that you have heard here, or you want to go check out videos, I have things in playlists. Try to be organized. The live tab and then the community tab, I try to post other missing person flyers and mini updates when possible. And of course, please like, please subscribe. Those things help get this information out. So, maybe somebody who has answers or can get to the family so that they can reach out and maybe answer some things off the record. That's how we're going to be able to help people. So I appreciate everybody tuning in, and you guys have a great night. You are all awesome, and I really appreciate you.